Welcome back, friends. My name is Anna, aka Brookwillow, and if you're new here, I am a fiber artist living in western Wisconsin. My main focus is knitting, which is what I'll be sharing with you today the most about, but I also love to spin the yarn that I knit with. I like to sew my own clothes for my wardrobe, and this coming year, I'm going to be focusing a lot more on my weaving practice as well, but we'll talk about that towards the end of this episode. So I'm going to cover some recently finished knit gifts that I've made this year, as well as all of the other projects I've been working on. I think the last time I had a podcast was maybe in October, so it's been quite a bit since I've just sat down to show you everything, so therefore I have a lot to share today. But first I want to share with you the sweater that I'm wearing here. It's very appropriate for the day we're having today. It's very windy and warming up a little bit, but it's still pretty cold out, and therefore I really just want to wear a soft, cozy sweater. This is actually the second sweater I've ever knit, and it is the Magnolia Bloom pullover by Camilla. And I knit it using the recommended knitting for olive yarn. I think it was just like their Merino and Mohair, so one strand of each. I really love how this one turned out, and I was very proud of myself for taking on a lace yoke pattern for my second ever sweater, and I didn't even really make any mistakes that I can tell in it. My first knit sweater was actually a colorwork sweater, so that was pretty bold as well. I think it was maybe even a few years down the line before I just knit a plain solid sweater. But yeah, this one is really nice. I also like that the lace holes are very thick, so you can really see what you're wearing underneath it, which could create kind of like a nice effect. So I have this periwinkle turtleneck that I got from Duluth Trading Company, and it, maybe you can't tell, but it peeks through all of the lace, and it just reminds me of like twilight time in the winter. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for today. And it's very cozy. I also have matching sweatpants on to really tie the whole thing together. I have found one of my tips for surviving the dark winter is to wear cozy clothes, but also have it like kind of be cohesive or match. I don't know about you, but personally, I just feel a little bit better about lounging on the couch in my pajamas all day if they're matching. So that's just my little tip for winter. So I will say, if you were following my shorts series on YouTube, some of this that I'm going to show today will be a little bit redundant, but I think there's a lot of you who haven't seen any of this yet, and so I'm excited to show you. We'll start with the two finished projects that I have. One of them's still a little bit damp from blocking, but this is a gift for my mom for this holiday season, and I'm storing it in a cedar box that I got from Knit Picks, which was a recommendation from one of you viewers, so thank you very much. And I'm holding 3 sets of socks in here. They're like ankle height, and they're more of like a house slipper. I have been thinking about knitting these for my mom for quite some time. They're all from Lina's 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. And every time I would flip through the book and see these colorwork ankle socks, I always thought of my mom and how much I think she would love them. So therefore, I decided to knit her a 3-pack, and that way it kind of feels like one good solid present for her. And I'll walk you through each of the pairs that I knit her. So this was the first pair that I knit for her. And here you can see there's one type of color work on the top, and then on the soles of the feet, it's a different pattern. And I just think it gives the socks so much interest, especially when you wear it and you can kind of see both patterns at once. It just looks so nice, and I think she's going to be really excited about these. I sure had a lot of fun knitting them. These are the Spadok by Radchenko, and they're knit using Rauma Finull, and that's what I used in this pair, which is the same as the sample. I have knit with this yarn before. I actually made my mom a pair of mittens with all of these cute daisies on it. They were really sweet mittens. I should try to find a picture of it. But yeah, I knit that with the same yarn, and they kind of felt together in a really nice, gentle way. And I feel like it just strengthens the mitten, just like it will for the socks, and makes it that much warmer. I did do just like a very light felt on all three of these when I blocked them when the water was still warm, because one of them had that in the directions, and so I wanted these to kind of be cohesive, so I did that for all three. And I feel like that's really what worked on here. The colors, it's just so much more dense. It didn't shrink down for me because I did it by hand, and I just feel like they're going to be so warm. And this yarn is so fantastic for color work, especially when it's really detailed like this. I feel like since it's just so woolly, the fibers just spring out and just stand out, especially against the dark. And I was very intentional about choosing colors that had high contrast. I think in the past, I've always chosen a lot of low contrast for delicate designs, and it kind of beats the purpose of the design if you can't really see it. So now I'm trying to really go for high contrast. And originally I knit these with the main color being this light tan, but it kind of lost this minty color in the pattern, so I re-knit it using the navy as the background, and I think that was definitely the right decision to go with. The second pair I knit is the Hilda by Kristin Drysdale, and somewhat different from the first pair. This is just knit with 2 colors with a thicker yarn, whereas the first pair is knit with 3 colors with a finer yarn. And I saved the thicker yarn projects for the second 2 because I kind of figured towards the end of this project I would be kind of ready to move on from it. So I wanted the second 2 projects to go by a little faster. And yeah, that really helped me out. I just love how these turned out though. I feel like I definitely need to make myself a pair. Especially, I mentioned this earlier, they definitely have a Christmas vibe. It kind of looks like it's snowing, but really this is just like a flower with some speckles in the background. So they could really pass as a holiday slipper around like Christmas time or like spring with the floral on it. So I just thought these were really fresh for this time of year, and I think she's going to really like them. The final pair I made for her is the Ofidi by Elena, Solier, Jànsa. Here's the back of them. I forget what yarn is called for in these. It was different than what I used. I ended up using the Rauma 3-Trad Strikkegarn, which is what I used for the second pair. I forgot to mention that. I used the same for this pair too, again, just so they could be a bit more cohesive. And I'm really happy with that. I feel like, again, just this yarn makes such crisp color work socks. It's really, really nice for color work. It was fun to make this because I did all 3 back to back, and despite them all having very similar construction in terms of, all the different types of socks there are, these were all knit up 3 different ways. No 2 were alike. So, for example, this one you knit starting with a heel with like Judy's Magic cast on, and then you knit the heel together and then held the yarn and then knit the rest of this and then did the I-cord. Whereas with this pair, the heel was knit flat, so you didn't do Judy's magic cast on. You started with the top decreased and then increased and then knit everything up, and then you seamed it together. And then the third pair, you started with the heel, but then you knit, and then you did like a full sock tube where you would put in an afterthought heel. So you knit these entire socks just as a tube and then picked up the stitches and then did the I-cord bind off. So it kept it interesting for me to have it be 3 different ways to knit this. And then of course the 3 different colorwork patterns and colors that I used as well. It kept the whole project very fresh and exciting for me, so I never got sick of it. I will say by the end of the last pair, I did take a little break before I cast on the second sock to cast on a sweater that I suddenly got inspiration for, and that was like exactly what I needed to re-energize myself to finish up that final pair. And once I got this project done, I felt so refreshed and just excited to dive into other projects. Actually, also in between knitting the last pair of socks, I did knit up my sister's present, which is my next finished object, because I just needed a quick palette cleanser. And this was a perfect one because it's just a plain, very plain stockinette beanie. She created a wish list where she put a bunch of different types of stuff that she's interested in if we needed some gift ideas. And she had a gray cashmere beanie on there that was like very simple looking, and the decreases reminded me of the classic ribbed beanie by Purl Soho, which is a free pattern on their site, and that's the pattern I used to make this beanie. It's still wet, which is why I don't have the cuff up, but I'll put it up right now so you can get a better idea of how the beanie will look. So here's the beanie with the brim pulled up, folded up. I was really excited to knit this because I used Purl Soho's Nigh cashmere Aran, and the color was like silver birch, I think. But I was just really excited to knit with the yarn because it's 100% cashmere. I have knit with Merino Cashmere Bloom from Purl Soho, which is a mix. So I haven't knit with anything that was 100% cashmere. And it felt very nice on my hands, which was just a pleasure to make just a very simple hat with, especially when I just wanted to not focus on what I was knitting and pay attention to like an audiobook or something. I think she's really going to like this and get a lot of wear out of it because it matches a lot of her winter coats, and it's just a very classic beanie. This color will never go out of style, or maybe she'll never get sick of it. And yeah, I hope she's very happy with this. Once I finished all of those gifts, I wanted to focus 100% on this next project. It is the Dagmar jacket by Petite Knit. Here's the front of it, and here's the back of it. The last time we chatted, I had not finished the body. I think I just had the ribbing left and the bind off, but since I have completely finished the body and started the right sleeves here. And then here's the cable knit pattern that runs down the side of the sleeve. I started spinning for this sweater 1.5 years ago and was hoping that I would have finished spinning all the yarn by fall so that I could start knitting it in winter and have it completed last winter. Now it's the following winter and I'm about halfway done, maybe just a little over more. So that's why I really want to focus on finishing this, because I just desperately want to wear this jacket. I know it's going to go with everything, and I don't have a thick knit jacket / cardigan garment like this yet, and I just know I'm going to really love having this piece. So I really want to finish it, and I had set a goal for myself to finish it in time for my birthday, which is December 29th, and I'm recording this on the 20th, I think. It's really going to be cutting it close, I think, because I started knitting this sleeve 2 days ago, and I feel like I haven't gotten that much done in 2 days, despite how much time I've spent on it. But now that it's kind of tapering down, I think it'll go by a little bit faster. And if I don't get distracted by any other projects, which I have a lot of projects to get distracted by, I think I can finish it by then. Now that we're getting close to the end of it, I do have buttons picked out that I'll show you. Last spring, I went to the Shepherd's Harvest Festival in Lake Elmo, Minnesota, and there was a vendor there who had a booth. He was a wood turner, and he had all different types of tools and stuff handmade, but he also had buttons, and I just thought these would look so nice on this jacket. These toggle buttons are so beautiful too. They're made out of white oak, and I just love how you can see the grain in it. Hopefully you can see it with this lighting. And they're so soft and smooth. So you can just really tell it was handmade with a lot of like care and attention. And I think it's just going to be so special on this because the yarn that I'm using is Handspun. It's Honer Och Eir's fiber that they sell. They're the makers of Nutiden yarn. They make beautiful bats of fibers in very beautiful colors, and I blended 3 different colors. Well, I spun them up all separately as singles, and then I plied them all together for this subtle shift and dimension in color. And I think it's really pretty. I was folding all of my sweaters up the other day, and I noticed they're just all colors. I don't have a lot of natural colored sweaters, and I feel like I want a little more natural colored, like the actual sheep color without any dye in it. I know this is dyed, but you kind of get my point with the natural color. This looks very natural. So I'm going to keep working on this, hopefully until it's completed. If I get distracted, I'm not going to kick myself about it. I'll just push my deadline to December 31st, New Year's Eve, if I don't finish it in time for my birthday. And if I don't finish it by then either, I'm just not going to worry about it. At the beginning of this month, I did have a burst of inspiration to cast on a pair of mittens for myself, mostly because I needed a pair of mittens. I have a few mittens, but they're all very thin with like 1 layer of fabric, and I just want very warm mittens that I can wear when I'm walking the dogs, and I just don't even have to worry about them getting cold. So I've always wanted to make a pair of thrummed mittens. I had a pair as a kid. I think I might have stolen them from my mom maybe, and accidentally kept them from my mom. And I lost one of the pairs. I moved 11 times in 9 years, which is really ridiculous. And it was, a lot of them were across state borders too. I was very nomadic at one point in time. In the process of all of that, I tend to lose things. So I was really bummed losing that pair because they were so warm. Then I just kind of forgot that thrummed mittens even existed until I was watching the Grocery Girls, and they were talking a lot about thrums. And that's where I got the inspiration to cast on my own pair. Because I'm a spinner, I already have a lot of roving in my stash, and it happens where you kind of end up with a little bit left over, or I have received samples of it with purchases of support spindles too. So I have kind of odd bits of roving that isn't really enough to spin to make enough for a whole project, I realized they would make the perfect amount for little Thrums for these mittens. About a month ago, I'm sure a lot of you remember when most of the United States and probably Canada too could see the northern lights and they were very red. It was the first time I've ever seen the northern lights with my naked eye, which has always been on like my bucket list, I guess. And I certainly never expected to be able to see it right in my front yard just because of where I live. I'm not like that super north in Wisconsin or Minnesota. So I was really excited about all things Northern Lights when that happened. And that was kind of my inspiration with the material I used for this. So first, I was desperate to use this yarn here. My best friend gave me this for my birthday last year, and it is Finn from a farm out by her. She is in Lafayette, Colorado. I get Lafayette, Louisville, and Longmont all confused because they're all L's and they're all like right next to each other, but I think she's Lafayette. And yeah, there's a farm right around there that has Finn sheep, and this is from their yarn, and I just love this rich, dark color. I think that is so beautiful. I really want to find a sweater's quantity of fiber in this color. I just think that would be so sweet. But yeah, so that was the main color. And then I had, okay, so this fiber right here, I had left over from a project that I spun. It's Teeswater from Orchard Acres in Rochester, Minnesota. And then I had a little sample bump of fiber that I got with the purchase of a supported spindle. And it's so pretty. It almost looks like an oil spill. But I thought these two together with the dark would just really pop and kind of look like the northern lights in the sky or stars or something. And so I found a free pattern on Ravelry. The pattern is called Easy Mittens with Thrums by Debi Wilbur. I just typed in thrummed mittens and it was the most popular pattern listed and it was free. So I figured that's a great one to go with. And yeah, the directions are very clear. They show you, or she shows you how to make the actual Thrums. I've never made Thrums before. They're very easy though. This is what they look like. Here, I'll show you. I'll show a darker one so you can see it better. So this is what the thrum looks like. And I suppose some of you may have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'm just going to show you the project. So you've probably seen these before. This is like the base of it, where it has all of these color work dots, but the inside of it is all of this loose ends of fiber, and these are the Thrums. And you just knit it as if you're knitting color work, but instead of having two long threads, when you get to the stitch that you have to knit the contrast color in, you just wrap the thrum around like that and then knit it. And because the ends are thicker than the middle here, they don't slip out. And I imagine too, with wear, your hands will just naturally start to felt the fiber together and it'll just make it that much stronger. But yeah, so they're super thick mittens and they're so warm because they trap so much air in there. And yeah, I'm really excited to have them for how warm they'll be because it can get pretty dang cold up here. And I'm also doing a trip to Grand Marais again this winter, and it's going to be very cold up there. So these will come in handy for that trip. But yeah, so I picked between the two colors of Thrums just at random. I wanted the whole thing to be random. I didn't want to have too much of a pattern, and that way it kind of naturally creates the different shifts in color that Northern Lights do. And I really am so pleased with how this turned out. Again, with the high contrast too, it's just very striking, and I'm very happy that I went with something high contrast for this project. As you can see, I'm not super far with this for starting it a month ago, and the main holdup is the Thrums take quite a bit of time to make, and I definitely underestimate the amount that is needed for the mittens, so much so that I'm starting to get nervous that I'm not going to have enough fiber for the second mitten. So I have to be very conservative with how much fiber I am using for each thrum. I don't need to use too much and make it super thick. I can ease up a little bit to make this last quite a bit longer. I have been using, so last year when my grandpa passed away, I inherited a lot of decor. Well, I went in and chose everything that I wanted, because it just, all of their stuff looks so nice with my house. And I have a very old house built in 1900, and so there's a lot of character, and it really matches with what their taste is and was. And my mom also asked me if I wanted the Longaberger basket collection, and I couldn't say no to that because I love baskets, but they had a lot of Longaberger baskets, 10 plus that I got, and I didn't know what to do with them, so I just kind of scattered them all around my house as decorative pieces. But I realized they actually make fantastic project baskets, especially when you're transporting the projects just throughout the house. I like the sturdy structure of it and just how open it is, so it's easy to reach in and grab everything that you want instead of flopping through a fabric bag. So yeah, baskets for projects are a big yes for me around here. After working on those mittens for a little bit, I desperately just wanted to start casting on the Menekvet sweater by Petite. And the reason that I've been holding back is because I still have to finish spinning the rest of the fiber. But I think if I start knitting the sweater, it'll create more demand for me to spin the fiber, because I just keep getting distracted with other little spinning projects. So I ended up caking up 2 skeins of it. So this is the main color that I'm going to use. This is the contrast color. I got both of these at that same fiber festival that I went to, where I got the buttons from. And yeah, I just think they'll look really nice together. I don't have a lot of light colored sweaters. Yes, I'm wearing a cream one right now, but this really is one of 2 lighter sweaters that I have, and so I just think this will be fresh and springy to knit up. So I wanted to get going on it, and I allowed myself to, at the very least, make a swatch, because I will swatch regardless. I think it's really important to gauge swatch for sweaters, especially with hand spun yarn, because it can be a lot more inconsistent than a factory spun yarn with the exact weight written on the label. And so yeah, I swatched with my 2 hand spun. I think it's so pretty. So here's the sample of the color work, and then here's a sample of the texture that's throughout the sweater. I actually haven't even measured the gauge swatch yet, so I have no idea if I have met gauge or not, if I need to change needle size or what. I just wanted to get this part out of the way because I just wanted to get a sample of knitting this sweater, because I'm very excited to knit it. But again, I want to finish that Dagmar jacket first so I can just have a finished object, because I don't think I've finished a sweater in a very long time. I can't remember the last sweater. Well, I guess it was the tessellated cardigan. which that one took me like 2 years to knit. So I knit this swatch, and despite wanting to save it until I finished the Dagmar jacket, I cast on an entirely different sweater. And it is this one right here. This will be the Hannah jacket by Petite Knit. Now, I don't think there's ever been a time that I have knit 2 Petite patterns at once. I usually knit probably 1 a year. However, I have found that the simplicity of her patterns make a very great canvas for handspun yarn, because they're very like minimalist, and I really like the structure and the shape of them all. And it really kind of gives a platform to let the handspun shine in the project without the pattern itself taking away from it. I knew when I spun up this yarn that I wanted a very basic sweater, and when I saw the Hannah by Petite Knit, I just knew that was the one right off the bat, because I really love that it's a V-neck, but it's still a high V-neck. So it has that V effect, but kind of more like a crew neck depth to it, which I really like. I just thought it would be so cute to have this handspun yarn paired with this yarn right here. This is going to be the ribbing, and this is, as you can see, the main color of it. So this yarn I was planning on making a hat with. I intentionally bought it from the yarn shop to make a hat. It is Susan Crawford's collection called A Room of My Own. Here's the label on it. And it is 100% British wool in the color clay. I figured a hat's a hat. I have so many hats. If I don't find this yarn again, I could probably find something very similar to knit that hat with. I just couldn't pass up how perfect this color went with this handspun with these little bits of pink in it, or this clay color. I figured this will just be a really comfy sweatshirt type sweater that I can toss on and lounge around in, or just something that's really easy to pair with jeans and just be able to run right out the door. I like garments that you don't have to think too hard about when you're putting pieces together. I really like the way that the colors are knitting up too. It's coming off a little bit stronger on the camera. There's not quite so much contrast, so it's a little less stripy looking. Overall, I just think they're blending really nice. This yarn I spun up a year ago, and I don't know, it was like this summer actually. It felt like a year ago. I had one braid of some silk blend wool fiber, and then I got a ball of roving in this like very downy color. Here's a thicker part of it. And I just thought together they're really nice subtle color changes, and it's like a very warm neutral color. I thought it was really pretty. So again, I like how it's knitting up, and I'm happy I have more of a plain sweater so you can really just see how the colors are presenting themselves in the sweater. Those are all of the knitting projects that have been really taking up my time this past month. And I do want to show you a spinning project that I started as well. It's on my supported spindles. I always like to have a project going for them because they're just so easy to pick up and work on a little bit at a time. You don't have to set up the wheel or anything. It's just easier to stop and go with it. So it's nice to just always have a project on them. And I had recently finished up a different project. I made some sock yarn with 2-ply, but I'm making it a very high twist. And so I finished that up and I wanted to start a new one. And it was one of those moments where you just see like 2 skeins of yarn sitting next together on the shelf and you get inspired by using those 2 together in a project. It was the same thing with this fiber. So I was sent this fiber from Mint Fiber Co. It's just this beautiful braid with kind of bright bits of minty color, but toned down with this more khaki color. I think it's really pretty. And I saw it sitting next to this silk that I bought at that fiber festival as well. It's really pretty. And I just thought this silk would really create a cool element just going between all of these colors. I made a bunch of rolags blending the two fibers together, and I feel like the rolags are so cute. The silk just adds such a shine to it. And I really like the way that the colors blend together. So I started spinning it up on my spindles here. This is an Enid Ashcroft spindle. I think she's from the United Kingdom. This is one of my favorites. Actually, all my spindles are my favorite. I could not choose a favorite between all of them. And then this is a Spanish peacock spindle here. And they're fantastic spindles to spin on. I have a basket that they're all laying in, and I close my eyes and pick a spindle, and that's the spindle that I work on, and that's just how I decide between them all. And so these are the two that have been chosen so far. But anyways, yeah, it's really fun spinning up these rolags and seeing how the colors change across them all. My plan is to ply it chain ply so you get the longer color changes throughout the yarn because you're plying the yarn onto itself. I have no idea what I'll knit with it. Maybe I'll do another bandana. I put out a tutorial this last winter on a basic stockinette bandana, and I think a lot of people are starting to find that pattern, so therefore a lot of people are starting to knit it, and I kind of want to join in on the excitement again, and so I think I want to knit another one. And I just thought having one that kind of just color changes throughout would be really pretty and almost like a watercolor effect. So I think as of right now, that's what I may knit with that. That's all the projects that I have to share today. I did mention earlier about how I am wanting to prioritize weaving a little bit more in the future. I miss weaving on the loom. I store it up in our bedroom, so it's very out of sight, out of mind. I have this beautiful tool that I really want to make woven fabric out of, and I'm just very curious about learning and exploring a different part of the fiber world. It's fun being a beginner at something again and just having so much knowledge to look forward to. And so I have a project on it currently that I am going to wrap up. It's just knitting kind of like plain cloth in a pattern that I might use for a sewing pattern, but I kind of want to get back into weaving projects that patterns have already been designed by somebody. For example, like Just Yarn has kits to make different types of patterns on their site, and like they send you the yarn and stuff. And so I purchased a couple of those kits as a little treat to myself, and I'm looking forward to weaving those up. I'm thinking of having just a weaving specific video. Let me know if that would interest you at all. I'm so excited this winter. We are actually getting snow. I was even able to go out and ski at one of my favorite places to cross-country ski with my friend, and that was lovely. We haven't really gotten much since, but I am hopeful that we are going to have a winter full of snow because I really do miss being out in nature, specifically on my skis, because you just get really deep into places that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get to on foot or by car. Thank you so much if you've made it this far in this video. I definitely have some videos in mind that I'm excited to make in January. This is definitely going to be my last one of the year. But again, I'm looking forward to the next year. If you're new here, you should consider subscribing so you won't miss out on any of those future videos. And if you've been around for a while now, I appreciate your support and continuing to come back to watch these videos. If you like this style of video, please give it a thumbs up. That really lets me know what type of content you would like to see here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your year and a very happy new year. We'll see each other then. Bye.